All right, guys, so I have the finished product on the left, and we are going to do the same thing to it here on the right. And just like I always say, when I'm doing these dimensions, I just take the original drawing and just check them off. I literally draw a line through each dimension on the original to make sure that I didn't forget it. Turn the construction lines on here. So as always, a lot of offsetting just to get things going. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Make sure I've got enough to do them all. Hopefully I don't leave any out. I hate having to go back into offset mode and take care of that. All right. Let's start on the right side and just kind of work our way across. So I'm going to zoom in a little better here so that I can get all that. So this is the guy I'm working on right now, the right side view, and here is the right side view that we are going to essentially copy. I'm going to put my center lines in place first. With the slot, I am extending beyond its edges 1/4 of an inch with the center line for that slot, okay? So that's what's happening there. 1/4 up and 1/4 below. For these sets of holes right here, that's just a standard center line. Again, 1/4 above and 1/4 below. There it is. So that's it for the center lines. We can now go to our dimension layer and knock those out. So we have the overall width of the object, 3 1/4. And the height of the portion on the right, so there's that. And the overall thickness of this tab on the other side. Now you might be wondering, well, why didn't you dimension that on the other side? And I'll just show you really quick here. On the left side, we dimensioned the slot in its entirety. So there's a lot of dimensions over there, and it would have just kind of made a mess. So I took advantage of the fact that we had visibility of it in the right side view and just did it there. You could put it on the left, but I tried it out and it was just, there's already too many dimensions over there. So this was just a little cleaner. Okay, so I think we have all of the right side view done. Moving to the, I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit here. But moving to this tab on the top view. Let's do our center lines first. To do the center lines for these circles, I'm going to need to offset them 1/4 of an inch. Truth is, I really only need to do one and I can copy it over. I think that's what I'll do. So just draw the center lines for this one from outside circle to outside circle. Delete that circle. Now I've got that one done. I can just copy it to the other side. CO, enter. from its center to the other center. So that is the appropriately center-lined top view there. Let's do the bottom view since I'm in the centerline layer, and we'll just knock out these guys here. And this guy over here. And this guy over here. Heck, might as well just finish it off, huh? Might as well. So I don't have to go back into that center line layer. I think that's all the center lines. Okay. Back to dimensioning. So the book had the drawing we were given had the distance between these centers dimensioned like that. It also had the distance from the edge to this one dimensioned. And I felt that, which would be something like this, and that is generally frowned upon. So unless there was a real need for it, and the reason why is you can see how the arrow it absolutely touches the object line or even goes into the object, and that's just frowned upon. It's not good drafting. So unless it was really necessary, it would look a lot cleaner if it was dimensioned from the other end, like this. So there you go. And I even pulled it off just to make it a little tighter. I felt that looked a little bit better, not so crowded. All right, keep going here. This guy to that guy. And the overall width here. And then I moved these a little bit. I raised that number up a little. And the 625 dimension I actually put inside there. So that fit pretty nicely. And you can see that one I did from the top, this one I did from the bottom. Either way, same thing. The gaps here, you may notice, are a little bigger. And the reason they are is I made them a little bigger so they're more visible. Because this is a larger drawing, I went into my dimension style. Oops. And I changed it. So that is the gap from the extension line to the object. This space right here I'm talking about. I made it a little bit bigger. So offset from origin, that's what we're talking about here. I changed it to 0.11. It was 0.09. So when we were doing those smaller objects, that was good enough. But because we're zoomed out a little bit further now, that gap looks better, a little bit larger. So I made that bigger. And that's under the Lines tab. And it's called Offset from Origin. And that is what controls that value. Again, the distance I'm talking about, I'll zoom in here real tight, is this space in here. The gap between the extension line and the object, that is known as the offset from the origin. The origin is the point on which you click. And then the extension line is offset from that point a certain distance. And that distance right now is 0.11. Okay. The last thing I did with the with this dimensioning of this tab is I connected these two circles to show that the center line going across goes through both of them, and that could have been done with any line, either your dimension or your center line, because it's not very long, but just connect them like that. Okay. The last thing I need to do is to put the diameter dimension on there. Go to my diameter dimension and click either one. Doesn't matter, I'll choose the other one. And remember, before you click for the location type M, enter, and then the 2 by space. Give it the check mark, and now you can locate it approximately 1/2 of an inch away from the object. All right. So moving on with the top view, we have this 1 1/4 inch dimension. I will point out that you have a couple options here. You could also have done it like this. And you might say, well, you may feel that's better. But the advantage to this location is that you don't have extension lines going through the object like this right here. The disadvantage is that it is not quite so apparent what we are dimensioning. Because this line at this point is just a line, it's not really an edge. But in this drawing, I'm dimensioning from one edge to another edge. In other words, there's nothing over on this side of it. It's the line and then outer space. So that is a more clear way to dimension things. If you have that option, we generally take it. So this is thought of as a better way to dimension than this right here. I'm going to turn my construction lines back on so I can place those better. And I'm going to do that. So to go from that point to this point, and then there it is. And that looks like the top view is complete. Let's do the bottom view here. We've got this 1/2 inch thickness. And there's a lot of those on here. Move that 1/2 inch value into the middle there. This this dimensioning right here is maybe a little suspect, but I did it this way to honor the drawing because this is how it's done in the drawing that we were given. So, I mean, I would have done it a little differently, but that is how it was given to us. So, so there, that's why I have those as a chain dimension like that. You know, another way to have done this would have been to do it as a baseline, maybe something like that. Or baselining from the other side, from this side over here. So lots of ways to do it, but that's how it was done again in our drawing. So there you go. I have the overall length of this thing in this view. First, we got to put the 1/2 inch dimension here though, for this piece. And then I have the overall length. Right. It's a little awkward having this large space here. Really no good way around that. You could have put this dimension up here if you wanted. You could have done it like this if you wanted to maybe avoid having having that gap, and that's certainly an option if you preferred it on top as opposed to the bottom. Again, you know, hard to say what's best. That's a decision you got to make. You could also have had it in the top view. You could have done something like this here, like that. That seems a little more awkward. But these two are pretty equally warranted, I guess. So either way, having the overall dimension on the top or the bottom. One advantage of having it on the bottom is a little less extension lines because this dimension is piggybacking off of these extension lines that are already there. So it's just a little bit less line work on the drawing. So a little cleaner, in my opinion. That's why I went that way. I have the radius dimension here. So this is probably the most significant thing of this lecture, this leader. Now, I didn't talk about this in the last drawing we did because, I like to ease into these things. But definitely pay close attention to what I'm about to say. Rather than using the radius dimension, which is really lame in AutoCAD, check it out. It does this. It does this big arc that comes around, right? I don't know. I do not like that. I really prefer this look over here. And this is the way you would draw it. If you were drawing it by hand, you would draw it like this. You would not put this radius in here. So how do you make that happen? How do you do this? You do it with a leader. You click leader, and then you click the object. And with ortho off, definitely turn off this ortho because you want it at an angle. You would then place it and then type. So for x space r 0.250. There it is. And the 4 by, of course, is because there are 4 of them. And that's all there is to it, really easy. Now, here's the thing. We as a class have not formatted our leader style. And I need you to do that now because the default style, the default text height and leader size and all that stuff matches the original dimension style, which is larger and I feel more obnoxious than what we have. So how do you change the leader style? Let me show you. And you all need to do this. You can do it with me right now. You're going to go to annotation, and it's the third line down. Multi-leader style. You click that open and choose Manage Multi-Leader Styles. And click New. Name it. And here's what we're going to change. So starting with the first tab, the leader format, we're going to change the arrow size to 0.1250, which is the same size as our other arrows. That way it will match. The default is considerably larger. I think it's like 0.1875. So it's about 2/3 the size of that. So you can change the arrow size right there. The next thing we're going to change under leader structure is the landing distance. So that's the little tail here, the flat part at the end. It's called the landing. And I don't want that as big. Its default is huge. So I'm going to make that 0.15. Okay. And then lastly, on Content tab, this is where you change the text height. So we can change that to 0.125 as well, 1/8 of an inch. That's it. So to summarize, under leader format, the arrow we changed to 1/8 of an inch. Under leader structure, we changed the landing distance to 0.15. And on content, we changed the text height to 1/8 of an inch. And then you hit OK. And then make sure it took on annotation, make sure it's there. And if it's not there, you can pick it. And make sure you got that under the multi-leader style. You have your new style. And now all the leaders that you draw will be formatted correctly. Okay, last view I want to do here is the left side view. And there it is. So you can see we got the 1/2 inch dimension here. This is an example of one of those where it's not ideal. You, like I was saying before, it's better to dimension from an edge to an edge, but this is not the outside edge. There's more stuff here, but there's just no place on this drawing that you can get to. You might say, well, why don't you just do it right here? That's an edge to an edge, uh, right here, like from there to there. And yeah, that is an edge to an edge, but this is really frowned upon even more so because you have all this stuff, the arrows, dimension line, extensions, all this stuff on the actual drawing itself. We do not like doing that. Really frowned upon. You got to try to pull the geometry away from the object with extension lines, off of the object. And like I said, it's not ideal, but there's really no better place to locate that dimension. So there you go. Of course, the overall height. Which didn't have to go there, but seemed as good a place as any. So those are probably the obvious dimensions. Now for the slot. And I'm going to zoom in on the slot while I talk about it. So slots are typically dimensioned by their width and their height. So we'll do that first. So the width here is from there to there. So I missed. You know, I'm missing because I have my nearest snap on. I need to turn that off. And then the overall height. And this overall height, be careful. Don't do what I'm doing. Look at what I'm doing right now. What is the problem with what I'm doing right now? This extension line its origin is here on the object's quadrant, but the extension line is so close, it is basically touching. So once you get it like this, what you need to do is click on that extension line and grab its point of origin and drag it off. You know, that might be a little too far. And this is why I had my nearest snap on, because I was doing this before. And this is like a one time when you say, okay, turn your nearest snap on, grab the end of this extension line and put it a little closer, like halfway in between there. And that looks pretty good. And now before you forget, go in and turn that nearest snap off again, because it will get you into trouble. So we have the overall width, the overall height. The last thing we need to do is locate its center, because that is how the slot is actually located. And that dimension is from there to there. Of course, you want to pull this number off so it doesn't have a line going through it. And there is a bit of an issue here. You have these two, this extension line crossing through this dimension line, and there are a couple ways to deal with that. We could put these arrows on the outside if we wanted, which is more trouble because you have to do a dimension style override, which is kind of a hassle. But the easier way to do it is to just turn off my construction lines and then do a dimension break on this thing. So remember how to do that. D-I-M B-R break, there it is. And then you just click the one you want to break. Either one, how did I do it on the other one? Honestly, I don't remember. I broke the center line, which seems right. So I'm going to click on that guy and then hit enter, and boom. Now it's a little cleaner. And yeah, that's it.